Running 100 miles seems impossible, and maybe even kind of crazy. And it is, but we believe in big crazy dreams. That's why we ran 100 miles. It was such a life-changing experience for us, we decided to devote this podcast to preparing and inspiring you to run your first ultra race.
Are you ready to feel the highest highs and the lowest lows? Are you ready to do what you once thought was impossible? Are you ready for your trail to 100? Thank you for joining us here on Trail to 100, the podcast made to help you finish your first 100-mile race. Yes, you, Melody.
Wow.
I'm Jacob Bateman, and you just heard that. That's my wife, Melody, next to me. Coach Melody. She's putting on the coaching hat for this episode.
Hello. Also, if you're watching the YouTube video, I'm bouncing up and down. It's because I'm on a physio ball, and it helps me think.
See, Coach Melody. Look at her go exercise even while recording a podcast. So we are bringing you the second pillar of the 6 pillars of ultra running today.
Which is?
Drum roll, please.
Strength and mobility.
That's right. Strength and mobility. So this is what you would say, I guess, we talked about distance and those long mileage runs and all that yesterday on
how to build your base.
Yeah, how to build your base on the last episode. And then this episode is kind of the less sexy stuff, but the important. But honestly, okay, it's less sexy on Strava, I guess.
Yeah, you don't get as many kudos for speed work and strength training in the running world. But you could see this stuff as sexy. This is the stuff that makes your body sexy, if that's important to you.
Exactly. It is. So you won't get the likes on Strava, but dang, you'll get the likes from other people.
If likes are important to you, then in the long run, you are going to get more likes because you're going to, in the long run, get faster and be able to run further.
Yeah, you won't have those 3-month periods of MIA from Strava because you got hurt. Because this is strength and mobility. This is where you get stronger. This is what keeps your body healthy. This is what most runners, when they first get into it, don't even think they have to deal with until they start to break. And then, they either start learning or they just keep breaking.
Until they're completely broken.
Yes. And quit running altogether, because a lot of people do that. A lot of people, I don't know how many stories I've heard of, I've always wanted to be a runner and get into runner, and I tried a couple times.
Get into runner. Sorry.
I tried a couple times, and then I got hurt or something like that.
Oh yeah, so such a common running problem. I got into it, and then they just decide that they hate running because, or they decide that their body just isn't meant to run. And that's one of my, what I call a pet peeve. It bothers me when people are like, oh, my body can't run. If you're a human being, unless you do have some kind of serious disability, if you're a human being, your body can run. I wanted to add this. I like this analogy. I think Jacob thinks it's silly, but strength and mobility, this is the toppings on top of your pizza, right? Yesterday we talked about the dough, the base, right? Your foundation, and our strength and mobility is what makes the pizza taste good.
Well, is it the sauce? Is it the cheese?
I don't know why it matters. It's just the toppings.
Okay, a pizza is
imagine what toppings are on top of a pizza.
But I think of the second most essential thing to a pizza is not pepperoni, it's not onions, it's not bacon.
The sauce counts as a topping. It's everything that goes on top of the dough. Yes.
No.
What? You're making this simple analogy really complicated. Okay. This is where we build on top of our foundation.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I can grasp the foundation.
Maybe a better analogy for you would be Legos.
Correct.
Correct. I guessed right.
All right, guys. Back on topic here.
Funny.
Back on
Okay.
topic. So,
Whew.
strength and mobility. So, we were kind of talking about why you need it. Basically, strength and mobility is what keeps you healthy so that you're less prone to injury. So, first off, there's kind of three things we're covering in there.
Well, four.
Four, yeah. We're covering cross training, we're covering strength training, we're covering speed work. That's right, guys. Speed work is strength training.
It is.
And we are covering
mobility.
Yes, it's in the title. Okay, so first things first, we got to distinguish the differences between those four things because a lot of those things can get confused as being the same thing.
And that's the thing in the exercise world. I feel like these terms are thrown around and everybody uses them kind of differently. So we just want to define cross training. And basically, cross training is doing anything. This is, technically it's doing anything besides running. In the running world, cross training is seen as strength training. Strength training is a form of cross training, or doing other aerobic workouts without the impact that you get when you're running. So like biking or hiking or swimming as a way just to build your aerobic base more without that high impact that running puts on your body.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so cross training is basically any activity. So strength training honestly falls under cross training. So any activity outside of running.
Yeah.
So example of cross trainings is like if I go for a bike ride, right?
Yeah.
If I go swimming.
Yes.
Okay. What about if I go play pickleball?
Sure.
Oh.
I don't want to get way too technical here. I wouldn't consider like
cornhole
or like gardening or like those are just kind of like cornhole. You're just playing, gardening, mowing the lawn. Like those are just like activities of daily living. But
that's time on feet, right? Mowing the lawn.
Yeah, I mean it's all good for you, but this is getting too technical here.
All right. So okay. And then just real broad here. Then what's strength training then? Compared to cross training, what's the difference there?
So this is kind of how I see it. So when I think cross training, I do think like hiking, biking, elliptical, those things we talked about. Strength training is using resistance to build muscles, whether it's body weight resistance or TheraBand resistance or lifting heavy weights resistance.
Okay. And so you're telling me, okay, strength training is dealing with the resistance, cross training is more of an activity for the most part. I mean, but strength training is cross training.
We're confusing people. Okay, technically, cross training is anything besides running. The way we are going to refer to cross training is more aerobic activity to build your base.
Gotcha.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So then what are the pros and cons of each, and like how do I implement that into my training?
Let's talk about cross training. So like I mentioned, cross training is a good way to get more aerobic work in where you're not pounding your joints on the pavement or on the trails, right? So this is really good if you're injured. This is really good if you're new to running and your body is still adapting to being able to run long distances. This is really good if you're a master's athlete or a geriatric athlete and in your body, cut that part out. Anyways, let's see. Some benefits of cross training, besides helping you build your aerobic base, is you're using different muscles, so you're not using the same muscles all the time. So it helps you be a more well-rounded athlete. It also gives you like a mental break and helps you avoid burnout. So in the off season, I really like to do like kickboxing or karate just because it's something different and something I haven't done for a while. I know a lot of trail runners, they like to, at least in our area, they like to rock climb 1 or 2 times a week. I have an athlete who does jujitsu. I have an athlete who does hockey. So maybe your cross training is just something that kind of breaks up your running routine.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, so I need to implement this.
Not necessarily. I think it's a good idea to implement it, mainly so you can move your body in different ways besides
Okay.
running. That's where I see the most benefit,
So
honestly.
as I'm building my plan, I'm already spending 12 to 16 hours a week running. How do I throw in cross training?
Well, that's a good question.
I got an answer.
Okay,
You put it in on a rest week, on an easy week.
there we go. Yes, cross training is actually a great way to recover. So on your recovery week or on your recovery day, throw in the cross training. Just make sure that your heart rate is 130 or less. So keep it super simple, and I would say generally keep it between 30 and 60 minutes. You don't want to do anything too much longer than that.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing in my recent plan that Coach Mike McKnight made for me.
Shout out to the Dark McKnight.
Yeah, at first he had me doing it cross training when I was mainly in like my base mode and just barely starting to build up. I was doing it kind of once a weekish, but then as my miles build up, obviously I have less time for it.
Well, and what do you do for cross training? I know, but I'm just tell the people.
You guys don't need to follow my example on this. If I had a bike, I probably would have gone out biking. If I had a gym membership, I probably would have gone swimming. I have neither. So, what ended up happening is I would get on the treadmill and I'd walk barefoot on
Up
the
a hill,
treadmill.
right? So you'd put it on the full incline.
No,
Oh, you would just walk. Okay, walking counts as cross training.
I just walk barefoot though to help strengthen my feet and ankles.
Nice.
And then I would do a lot of stretching because I a lot of times would miss my stretching and I need to make up. No, but yeah, I would do more stretching because oftentimes 15 minutes a day, I don't get to really actually stretch and roll out everything with 15 minutes a day.
At
So
first, it seems like a lot,
yeah,
but then you start doing 15 minutes a day and you realize that
it's
you need
not
more
that
time.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would use it as a good thorough stretch out day. So it's still been a mental break. So it's on I have a hard, easy plan. And so on my easy weeks, Mike McKnight has thrown in one day where I'm cross training. And I think that's genius.
Are you doing less cross training now than you were at the beginning of your plan?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He had some cross training more in it at the beginning when
but now that you're in peak training, taking away the cross training and
weeks. Yeah.
that makes sense. And that's why I only do like kickboxing and other activities like that in the off season. In the on season, then all my cross training turns into biking or hiking.
But it's really nice to turn a show on, walk on the treadmill, and to stretch when you're out running every day. It's nice to have that occasional change up. So yeah, I would highly encourage it, not only just for the physical benefits that you're going to need. Like, I think if you can get out biking or swimming, honestly, that's what I think that would be the best form of cross training, in my opinion. But if you can't, even just walking on a treadmill, going for a hike, that'll do. Just change it up for your physical.
Even just walking around your neighborhood.
Yeah, for physical well-being and mental well-being.
Yes. And also to answer your question when you were like, okay, well, I'm training 16 hours a week. How do I get cross training in? If you really want to get cross training in, you can actually replace one of your runs with another aerobic activity. So that is another option. Let's move on to strength training.
All right. So strength training, this one's like, everyone's like, get your strength training in. And so this one's like, everyone's always says, yeah, get your strength training in. But no one ever says like, What?
what does that mean?
Yes.
There's so many things you can do.
Exactly. Like I feel when I was new, I was so lost. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll turn on Beachbody and pick one of those workouts and do that.
Which that's a fine way to start, honestly.
Or I'll go to the gym and lift weights that I learned how to lift on the high school football team.
As a beginner, I'd say the best thing to do is to get a workout plan just so you have something to follow and then you can kind of grow and build from there. I do have a free workout plan for beginners that I will link in the show notes. You can also get it off of my website, melodybateman.biz. And it's 4 20-minute body weight workouts. All you need is a resistance band, option to use light dumbbells. So that's a good way to start.
And so, okay, yeah, I like that you bring that up because I use these workouts for my first 200s and they got me across the finish line.
They held our bodies together to finish.
You know, and you're probably wondering what kind of workouts are we doing because we're still talking in such broad terms here. So like this is like a workout where there was planks, there was squats, there was lunges, there was bridges, there was calf raises, jumping around on your ankles.
So what if we talk about how you would build your own plan?
Yeah.
What muscle groups do we want to hit?
Exactly. Like, so how, and then also I want to talk about how do you build that plan into your daily week? Because like I said, I'm running 12 to 16 hours a week. Now you have to add
strength training on top. Oh, and you have to add stretching on top of that. Oh, where do you put the speed work?
Exactly.
Yeah, it can be kind of overwhelming.
Exactly.
For sure.
So, okay, first off, so how do I build a plan that's simple that I can throw into my daily routine, and it not just be overwhelming my life with just all I can do is run, workout, no time for anything else.
That kind of sounds like the life to me, but okay. So if you're going to make a workout plan on your own, focus on these 5 things. So what I would recommend doing is picking one of these exercises to do like 3 to 4 times a week, and I would attach it to your run just so it's a part of your routine. So either do these exercises before your run or after your run. So the 5 kind of categories I would say is glutes and hips to stabilize your pelvis, core to protect your back, ankles and feet to strengthen your base of support, single leg exercises because running is a unilateral sport where basically it's just a whole bunch of single leg jumps. So improving your stability and strength on one leg, and then plyometrics. Plyometrics are things like jumping lunges, box jumps, jump rope, jumpy exercises. And this is going to strengthen your fast twitch muscles and improve your speed and your power.
So your exercises that you came up with that are on your website, just basically pick one of those per exercise? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so pick one exercise out of these 5 categories and so you do minimum 5 exercises.
Okay, so you got one that says one exercise that hits the glutes and hips. What's an exercise that does that?
Clamshells is a great way to hit your glutes and hips.
The core, what's a way to hit that?
Planks. Every single runner should do planks.
Okay. The ankles and feet.
Doming. I'll post a video on our Instagram of what doming is.
You're obsessed with that one.
Because it's so important. So important. Every runner needs to understand doming.
All right.
Okay, I'm making a note right now to make a video to put on our Instagram page.
And a single leg workout. What's an exercise?
Single leg workout would be single leg shoe pickups. So you're literally going to stand on one leg and you're going to bend down and pick your shoe off the ground and stand back up. Bend down, put your shoe on the ground, stand back up. But make sure that you're doing this with good form. You want to make sure that you're not overpronating. You want to make sure that your knee's not caving in. You want to make sure that your hips are stable. Try to do this as balanced and as smoothly and as controlled as possible.
And what's a plyometric workout?
Jump roping.
Gotcha.
If any runner adds,
What about like box jumps?
Yeah, box jumps, jump lunges, burpees. We all love burpees. That's a
What
great
about
plyo.
jumping jacks?
Jumping jacks.
Cool.
Yeah, backflips.
Okay, well, I actually really like how you describe that. That makes it sound really easy. You can get these 5 groups, and then you find exercises that hit those 5 groups. And what you do, like 3 sets of each exercise, something like that.
Yeah, something along the lines of, I don't know, 30 reps each or 45 seconds each with a little break in between.
And how long does that take you per
If you did 5
routine?
exercises and you did 3 each, it would be between 15 or 25 minutes.
Cool. All right. So you're telling me like either before I go running or after I go running to either wake up 15 to 30 minutes earlier or do it on lunch break.
Yeah.
I guess I used to actually do that when I worked at a place. I would, when there was a dead period and I didn't have any work left, I would actually go to a room where no one was and I did these exercises.
Didn't you say someone walked in on you doing clamshells one time?
Yeah, and like I had my like my head.
It's kind of like a sexy,
yeah,
sexy
I'm laying on my
exercise.
side and like my hands supporting my head, and then I'm just like opening up my legs. Yeah, and she walked in. She's like, the because I did X-rays.
Should all
she's
come
like,
back later.
She's like, no. She's like, the patient's here. I'm like, okay, thanks. And anyways, so yeah, like, okay, so if we're disciplined and that we can figure out, you can figure out a time to fit a 15 to 20 minute exercise in that you don't need much equipment for, if any, maybe bands.
For sure. I would say invest in some TheraBands and then maybe some light dumbbells. I think that's a great way to start.
Yeah, agreed. Some dumbbells and bands. I like that.
And this is the minimum that you need to hold your body together.
So it's not like going over the top or anything.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So,
And go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, is there anything else I should be doing for strength training, or is that basically it?
If you want to throw in more, of course, you can. I mean, throw in calves. Calves are so important. Throw in those hill raises. Our calves are what push us off the ground when we're running. So strengthening your calves is going to make you faster and less prone to injury. Hamstrings and quads. The stronger your hamstrings and quads are, the faster and less prone to injury you'll be. And also, I feel like trail runners are monster trucks, and I feel like road runners are like sports cars. Maybe we're not quite as fast, but we are resilient and we are strong. So strengthening your hamstrings and your quads, that's going to help you get up and down those mountains.
So a trail runner is a Toyota.
Yeah.
They last forever.
Yeah.
They get beat up and they go off-roading.
They're
a lot.
super dirty. Yeah. Exactly.
You go off-roading a Toyota Tacoma or Toyota 4Runner. But somehow, just keeps pushing along.
Right. And the more strength training you do, the longer you'll be able to keep pushing for. And then, of course, upper body. And runners might think, why the heck do I need to do upper body? But it's a lot more important than you think. The first time it really hit me how important upper body is when Jacob and I did our first marathon and my arms were killing me. I was like, why are my arms so sore? We use our arms a lot more than we think. The most important thing is when you strengthen your upper body, it helps with your posture. And the better your posture is, the more efficient and powerful you'll be as a runner.
Yeah. And I've been having some upper body issues in the last week. And
we carry these heavy packs on our backs too. Yeah. That we gotta do some strength training for.
Yeah. And my elbow's been, it feels like I got tennis elbow going on, and part of me wonders if it's from the swinging of my arms.
Your job is also like manual labor. You're putting in floors
But I also never ran this many miles this consistently before.
It could be contributing to it.
So
it could.
Anyways, upper body takes its toll. Anyways, but I can attest that First off, your little program that you have up on your website, it
My widow
works.
program.
It works. That little strength program, guys, you don't have to do anything fancy. Mainly body weight exercises will keep your body intact. And then thirdly, I've been doing some a little bit different strength workouts. I've been doing some Tabata like stuff.
And that's the plyometric.
Yeah, but it includes like those Tabata workouts hit on most of those categories, if not all of them, that you're telling us to hit on. And so I've just been feeling stronger and it works. My back used to always get so
Yeah, you
tight.
haven't complained about your back. I don't even remember the last time you complained about your back.
Yeah, my back used to get so tight when I ran, especially longer than 10 miles. And it doesn't anymore. And I think it's because I've worked on my core a lot more. And so, like, it's just going to make life so much better for you if you can make sure you prioritize strength training. I can't stress that enough. Heck, you probably won't even get to the start line if you don't prioritize strength training.
Honestly, as a runger, this is pregnancy brain, guys. This is pregnancy brain for you. As a runner, you are so prone to injury. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You need to protect your body, especially if you've never ran 100 before and you're ramping up your mileage. Please do strength training so you don't hurt yourself.
Exactly. Okay, so
Oh, I want to throw in one more thing because this is important. Strength train barefoot. Take your shoes and your socks off when you're strength training so you can strengthen your feet. And also, the reason I say take your socks off is so you can feel the ground and really connect with the ground and connect to your base of support. That's really important. So do that.
all right. So mobility now. We've been
Yes.
hitting on strength. Let's hit on some mobility. Okay. Now here's something interesting that we heard when we first started ultra running. We were told if you had to choose between strength training and mobility / stretching, you should always choose strength training.
Which I agree with that if you had to choose one or the other.
Okay.
I feel like we were actually taught that stretching is a waste of time. Just do strength training and you're fine.
Yeah, that's what
And
because
I don't agree with that.
the same person who told us this, it was a PT. He said that there is no scientific research that shows that stretching helps.
No, but the anecdotal evidence is absurd. Everybody feels better when they stretch.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Exactly. And that's what I've come to the conclusion. You know what? I don't know. I guess they haven't found a way to test this, but like today, when I woke up this morning, I was feeling tight. I hadn't got my stretching in the past couple days. So I decided I was going to get my stretching in before I went running. And so I got it in and I actually had a pretty good run. And I think a lot of that was due to me stretching out beforehand.
Oh, I feel so much better when I stretch. And I've noticed that when I have my athletes stretch, they don't get injured as often. So I think it's super important. I do want to define the term mobility because I think a lot of people don't know the difference between just stretching and mobility. Stretching is lengthening a muscle. Mobility is lengthening a muscle plus taking the muscle through its full range of motion. Does that make sense?
So like give me an example of stretching and give me an example of mobility.
So like static stretching, you're just standing and bending
Like
down and trying to touch your
toes.
toes. Yeah, honestly, that actually isn't super effective. If it feels good, do it, but it is not the most effective way to stretch. Mobility would be like kicking your leg up in the air. Because on top of stretching that muscle, you're also moving or those muscles through the range of motion.
Okay.
So I'm a really big fan of yoga because I feel like on top of the stretches, you're moving
through the stretch. You're
Yes.
basically moving through a stretch. You're not just staying there and trying to see if you can touch your toes. You're in an active movement that's moving around and repeatedly kind of going back and forth sort of thing.
Yeah, and stretching, like getting flexible in certain areas also means strengthening other areas. So when you're moving through the range, when you're doing things like yoga, you're strengthening some muscles at the same time, which is going to make you more flexible.
Makes sense. So then how do I figure out, okay, because I was taught in high school how to stretch, but no one ever taught me how to do mobility. And how do I even figure out how to implement mobility, what to do, and then how to implement it?
Yeah, honestly, I can't break this down as much as I can break down the strength portion of it.
Yeah.
This is why we're going to have other expert coaches
Yeah.
on so they can teach us. Honestly, like I said, yoga. That's what I've been doing.
Fine, like
That's what I have all of my athletes do is.
Do you have anyone in particular, like on YouTube, that you recommend?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two people I'd recommend. So there's Yoga by Adrienne. I really like her because her yoga is very, like, she implements meditation, breathing, which I think is super important. If you're not into like the fluffy, buffy meditation stuff, Jacob's raising his eyebrows, then I would check out Sean Veig. He does yoga and he takes out all the fluffy buffiness. Like, it's very, like, he does it for athletes. He also is hilarious and you're like laughing your butt off the entire time. So Yoga by Adrienne or Sean Veig, I think they're great. That's a great place to start.
And how often for stretching and mobility?
Every day, even on your rest days. There should never be a day when you do not stretch. That is my opinion.
That sounds like it'd be really hard to every day put on yoga on top of 15 minutes of strength on top of an 8-mile run.
It sounds like a lot, and this is my advice, and runners aren't going to like this advice. Run less so you can run more. Run less so you can get your strength training in, so you can get your stretching in, and you can take care of your body, because if your body's broken, you're not going to be running.
Yeah. And see, here on Trailer 100, we're all about making this 100-mile distance accessible to all. And I remember hearing when I first started learning about the 100-mile distance that I had to run those 70, 80-mile weeks consistently in order to run 100 miles. I've yet to hit 70-mile weeks. I've run 200s. I'm actually trying to hit 70 miles for the first time this week.
Woo.
Trying. We'll see. But here I am. This is my 4th year of ultra running, and I'm finally getting to that point where I think my body can hold up on just to hit 170-mile week.
It takes years of build up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it'll take years to run a 100-mile race. It might, and that's okay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying here is, we said something kind of controversial in the first episode with you only have to get up to 50 miles a week to run 100
minimum.
Yeah,
that's really general.
That's minimum. But see, on top of that 50 miles, you're doing strength training, you're stretching, and so you are still being active. You're doing cross training, and I'm just saying, like, if you had to choose between running 70 miles a week with no strength training and 50 miles a week with strength training, I'm going to put my money for the guy to finish, the one who did 50 miles a week with strength training.
100%.
Like, if they both lined up at the start line, that's who I'm taking out my life savings. All $5,000, and I'm putting it down. I'm putting it down on the 50-mile weeker.
By $5,000, he means $5.
who implemented strength training. So, anyways, so that's why we say that. Obviously, if you can do 70-mile weeks with all your stretching and your strength training, then that guy, I'm putting my money on that guy to win it.
Totally. 100%.
But anyways, it's not, a lot of times that's not realistic. So that's why we say, if you're struggling to find time to get your stretching and strength training, let's bump your mileage down just a little bit. You're still being active in that time period, and I think it's all
beneficial. That's why I really like the saying, run less to run more.
Yes, exactly.
I
Exactly.
just heard on Trail Runner Nation, I think it was Camille Harris.
She's an
Heron.
Oklahoman.
Okay, yeah. They said that she never runs more than 20 miles or 3 hours when she's training for a 100-mile race.
Yeah, I heard
And
that
doesn't she
too.
hold, does
She
she
holds
hold
the
the,
record, I think, for the
yeah,
fastest 100
yeah. And
for a
she
woman.
never
Yeah.
trains longer than 3 hours on the weekends. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I bet you she's still getting in like 70, 80 miles because she's just that fast.
Oh yeah. And she also has had years and years and years of build up and
Yeah.
physiological adaptations.
Yeah. And so your body will adapt, but at first, you're going to feel wrecked. It's going to be hard. Running 100 miles is not easy. And so the training program will not be easy.
But that's why we do this, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Last topic for this.
Speed work.
Yes, speed work. So, Melody, can you tell us all why is speed work in strength training?
Okay, so speed work is in strength training because it is strength training. So back to 80-20 running, if you remember, our base is in zone 1 or zone 2, and that's 80% of the time. Then 20% of the time, Then 20% of the time we're in zones 4, zones 5, high intensity running, and then we're avoiding that zone 3. So when we're in zone 4 and zone 5, we are recruiting our fast twitch muscles and we're working our anaerobic system. If you think about an Olympic sprinter, they are buff, right? Think about how strong they are. And of course they're lifting weights and doing other things too, but sprinting builds your muscles. Sprinting makes you powerful.
Yes, it does. I like how you put that, sprinting, just like when you go hit the weights, when you go and do squats or whatever, it's like that sudden like contraction of the muscle.
That burst.
Yeah, that burst. And so when you start running fast, implementing speed work, you're asking more of your quads, of your calves, of your glutes, and so you are asking it to give you more of a burst rather than just a repetitive motion.
Right. You're using different systems in your body. You're using your muscles completely different. I'm not saying replace strength training with speed work. Actually, if we want to get a little bit more technical, then kind of in the off season, you do more strength like lifting. And then in the on season or when you're 6 to 8 weeks out from your actual race, you want to start replacing lifting weights with more speed work. So, but generally, you always want to be lifting weights during your program and you always want to be doing some speed work during your program. Anyways.
So, yeah. And honestly, like, all right, speed work is something we did zero of at first.
Because we were exhausted.
Yes.
Well, we were just worried about getting the miles in, which that is the most important part.
Yep.
But we did no speed work. And honestly, our paces, we got slow. This is what happens when you don't implement speed work. I'm going to scare you all into adding speed work into your routine. If you never do speed work and all you do is zone 1, zone 2 running, then your zone 2 is going to start to feel hard.
Yeah.
And your paces are going to drop and you will get slower and slower.
Especially if you're running on trails in the mountains where there's lots of climbing.
And your pace is already slower than when you're on the road.
Yes. Because it happened to me, guys. Like I was just running on only trails. I wasn't doing any speed work. And all my runs just kept getting longer and longer and slower and slower. And I was getting them done still. But dang, it started getting annoying because I was out there for forever to get those runs. It takes
so long to get 20 miles in because your split pace is 18 minutes,
Exactly.
And I got to throw this in. This is why I would highly recommend getting a coach for your first 100 because Jacob and I didn't have a coach and you don't necessarily need one. You really don't. We were able to learn ourselves, build our own plan, do a 100-mile race, but it would have been so much less painful and so much more efficient if we had a coach. And the biggest thing is a coach would have helped set us up for post 100 because after the 100, our bodies were broken. We didn't completely understand how to recover, how to get back into training. And we just kind of were broken and kind of all over the place after that. So get a coach who will not only help you finish 100, but get you across the finish line strong so you can keep running and keep training afterwards.
Exactly. So, but if you don't want to get a coach, so we're going to talk to those people right now.
Okay.
Don't want to get a coach, can't afford it, whatever, want to just learn it themselves. All right. So what can you tell me how to implement speed work? Like what kind of workouts to throw in?
I feel like this is important whether you have a coach or not.
Yes.
The more you understand, the better.
Yes.
So how do we implement speed work? Okay. So if you are not currently implementing speed work, I would say to start with strides. So a stride is a 20-second burst. And let me explain how you do it. This is not an all-out sprint. Do not take this 20-second burst 100%. What you're going to do is you're going to slowly ramp up to about 80% of your max power. Then you're going to slowly ramp back down. And you're going to add these in all of your easy zone 2 foundation runs. Make sure that you recover 2 to 4 minutes in between each stride. And I'd recommend doing like 2 to 6 of these, depending on the length of your foundation run, in every single easy run. And what this does is it gets speed work in. It helps you improve your running economy without pulling you out of your zone 2 and messing up your heart rate zones. So that's a great way to start with a little bit of speed work.
Okay. And like how often do I implement this?
I would do this on every single foundation run. Now,
what's a foundation run?
Sorry, a foundation run is a zone 2 run. So your base building zone 2 runs.
So basically every run.
Yes, unless it's a recovery run or you're really sore and you're really heavy and you just feel like it's maybe not safe to throw a stride in.
Okay. And so what are some other workouts? Like give me just some examples of speed workouts that I can build into my
and then
plan.
how can you build off of that? So start with strides. Then the next thing I would do is add one speed workout a week. And the different speed workouts, let's go over each of those, and I'll try not to bore you guys too much.
Just give us some of your favorites.
Yeah. Fast finish. So fast finish is the last 5 to 15 minutes of your run. You go as fast as you can. Then there's hill repeats where you're sprinting up and down a hill.
You run up the hill?
In 30-second to 2-minute intervals.
Okay.
So you're going to sprint up the hill for 30 seconds, walk back down, let your heart rate get back down. Sprint up for 30 seconds, walk back down.
How many times should I do that on a run?
So this is going to be your workout. So I wouldn't do this on a run. I would do like a 5-minute warm up, do your hill repeats, do a cool down. That's your workout for the day.
So don't plan like 5 miles that day, just plan hill repeats?
No, honestly, I'd say that's more of an advanced elite level. Maybe that's something you can throw in towards the end of your training, but to start, I would just do the hill repeats. And then there's interval runs where basically the same thing, but you're not on a hill. And this you can throw into your run. So maybe for, 30, 45 minutes, you're going to do a warm up and then you're going to sprint for 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And then you're going to rest for 3 minutes, sprint for 2 minutes, rest for 3 minutes, and then do a cool down. And you asked how many you should do. I would start with 3. And then as you get comfortable, then do 4, then do 5, then do 6, and then slowly build up. So fast finish, hill repeats, interval runs. Then there's tempo runs. So a tempo run is a warm up, and then it's a zone 3 run for like 15 to 45 minutes, and you're just going to hold zone 3. And I know, hold up, you're like, what? I thought we were supposed to avoid zone 3. Okay. Here we go. 80-20 is not that black and white, unfortunately. Sometimes it's actually really important to hit zone 3. And the reason is because we are racing in zone 3. So it's important to hit it occasionally. Tempo runs are great to hit towards the end of your training because they're more specific to what we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for our listeners out there, zone 1 and 2 is very easy going. Zone 2 is a light jog. Zone 4 and 5, you're like really running like hard.
Sprints.
And zone 3 is like that middle zone.
Zone 3 is like
marathon
a hard
pace.
effort. Yeah, marathon pace, a hard effort that you can sustain for like 60 to 90 minutes before you're dead.
Now I'm going to push back on something that you said.
Okay.
The speed workout is your workout for the week.
Yeah. For that day.
For the day, yeah.
Yeah.
And to not like plan like a specific, like I'm running an hour and a half today.
Yeah.
With a speed workout.
Yeah.
I would go the other way. Here's how I've been doing it in my plan. I like have like a 6-mile run planned that day, and in that 6-mile run, there's a 15 to 20 minute warm up, and then there's like an interval run and thrown in there where I run hard for 30 seconds, or there's one of them's called like a 7-11 where I do seven breaths really hard and then 11 breaths easy, and then 7 breaths really hard, 11 breaths easy.
Right.
And I'll do that like oftentimes like 4 to 8 times. And then I just run easy the rest of my run in zone 2 to finish off like the 6 miles. So that way I get my mileage in and my speed work in. Is that a problem? Because that's what I've been doing.
Well, like I said, you're in your peak training right now. That's totally appropriate in your peak training. So this is for people who have never sprinted before, and we're just starting to sprint. I would say like these hill repeats and these interval runs, this is what you want to be doing in the off season. And then as you transition more into the on season, then you'll throw in more tempo runs.
You'll do it in your run, in the middle of your run.
And then you might start throwing in the speed work in the middle of your run.
Okay. So you're saying in the off season, you can go off and
in the off season, or if you're new to sprinting, like if you've never sprinted before, I wouldn't say it's a good idea to do a hill repeat and then go run 5 miles, or run 5 miles and then do hill repeats.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Cause it just isn't realistic when you're in peak training to just pick a day and only do speed work.
I mean, yeah, I think throwing in the speed work in a long run that is more specific to a 100-mile race. So that makes sense when you're in peak training.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well,
I have to throw in one more run because this is really important.
One more run?
One more speed work.
Okay.
It's called a free bird run. I like this because I feel like as trail runners, we're all kind of hippie free birds. That's what trail runners, we're not as.
I'm not a hippie.
What else? You're a mountain man. We're all mountain people, and we're a little bit more flexible and loose on the trails than we are on the road.
We get out on the trails because we enjoy the experience.
And you have to be a little bit more flexible. It's not as easy to like calculate all the numbers and the miles and the climbing and things as a trail runner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a little more about just the experience of being out there.
Yeah. So this speed workout is it's for anyone, but I call it the free bird run. And what you're doing is you're adding a variety of speed work into one of your runs. So you're just going to pick a spot and you're going to sprint to it, and then you're going to rest. Then you're going to pick another spot and you're going to sprint to it and you're going to rest. And maybe you pick a spot and it's 20-second zone 5 sprint. Maybe you pick a spot that's at the top of the hill and it's a zone 3, for 5 or 6 minutes. And then you rest. And then you pick another spot and maybe it's a zone 3 tempo run for 10 minutes. So you're just going to free bird it. Just what feels good. You're going to sprint up some hills, walk down some hills. You're going to walk up some hills and sprint down some hills. And you're just going to play with the speed.
Makes sense. I like those workouts. They're fun.
Yeah, super fun.
Pick the tree that you're going to run to and don't stop till you get there.
And it's good, like listen to and feel your body practice, which is incredibly important.
Amen. All right. Well, we covered quite a bit today.
We did. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to us on our Instagram, Trolda100. You can even send us an email at trolda100@gmail.com. If you'd like us to dive deeper into any of the stuff we've talked about, also let us know, and we would love to make another episode like this. Or like we've mentioned before, we'll have other coaches on and we'll ask them the questions.
Strength and mobility, baby.
The toppings of your pizza.
The sauce.
Doesn't matter what kind of toppings. No, pick your favorite toppings.
Because it's not a pizza unless it has sauce. Just like you're not.
I literally don't even understand what you're getting at.
You're not gonna run 100 miles unless you do your strength and mobility work.
Yes.
You're just not. It's just bread.
Exactly. Which it's gonna fill you up. It's gonna do the trick, but then you're gonna feel really hungry again.
Yeah.
In like 2 seconds. And you're not going to enjoy it as much.
Yeah, like when you go on a 7-mile run or whatever, it feels good. It fills you up, but then it's not a lasting fulfillment because eventually
it's
that bread
temporary.
runs out. Yeah, if you don't put some sauce on it.
Gotta put some sauce in that pizza dough.
Pizza. Anyway, so thank you guys for joining us here on the second pillar of ultra running, strength and mobility. If you know someone who could benefit from this six episode series that we are putting together here, the pillars of ultra running, send them this episode, send them yesterday's episode, tell them, hey, you got to check these out because this is going to help you finish your ultra. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will talk to y'all next time.
See you guys. Hey guys, it's Melody here. Thank you so much for listening to Trail. It means so much to us. I'm really excited to tell you about my coaching business where I help average Joes who are looking for a little bit more out of life do something big to find a little bit more purpose, direction, and meaning. Learn more on my Instagram at The Pine Tree Runner or on my website, melodybateman.biz. Links are in the show notes. I know what it's like to feel stagnant or like something's missing or like you just want more out of life. I was in the same spot. Jacob and I had just gotten married and we were both working 9-to-5 jobs and we just were like, what do we do now? We just wanted something more, and we listened to David Goggins' book and we decided to sign up for a 50-mile race. And since then, we've done 50s, Jacob's done a couple hundreds, I've done 100, and running has changed our lives. I feel like I always have a goal to work towards. I feel accomplished and proud of myself. I feel like I have learned countless life lessons that have made me a better friend, a better wife, a better daughter, a better person. And I want to give back and help you do the same thing. I'm telling you, running can change your life. If you're ready to jump in and sign up for a race, whether it's 3 miles or 100 miles, I would be honored to help you cross the finish line. If you'd like to learn more or get in contact with me, find me on Instagram at The Pine Tree Runner or contact me through my website, melodybateman.biz. Links are in the show notes. You have so much potential and you are way stronger than you know. Let's find your strength because it's there just waiting to be tapped into.